ADHD is often misunderstood. It's usually described as a problem with attention or behaviour. Sometimes it's seen as not listening, not trying hard enough, or being disruptive. But that explanation doesn't tell the full story, especially when it comes to learning. So in this video, I want to explain how ADHD affects learning, why school can feel particularly hard for learners with ADHD, and what actually helps. This video is for children, young people, parents, and teachers who want a clearer, calmer understanding of ADHD beyond stereotypes, behaviour charts, and quick fixes. If you find this video helpful, you can support the channel by liking it and subscribing to the channel. That helps this information reach more people who might need it. Okay, let's get started. So when people hear the term ADHD, they often think about behaviour. They might picture a child who can't sit still, who doesn't listen, or seems to be constantly distracted. Because of this, ADHD is sometimes misunderstood as a behaviour problem, or even as a lack of effort or motivation. But ADHD isn't about laziness, and it's not about intelligence. ADHD is a difference in how the brain manages attention, regulation, and executive function. This means the difficulty is not paying attention, it's regulating attention. So a learner with ADHD may be able to focus deeply on things they find interesting or engaging, but struggle to focus on tasks that feel repetitive or are unclear or are overwhelming for them. And understanding this helps us move away from blame and towards support. So ADHD affects learning because it affects several different key skills that learning relies on. One is attention regulation, and this is the ability to focus, shift attention, and filter out distractions. So for learners with ADHD, attention may move quickly or become stuck on one thing, rather than staying where it's needed. Another area that can be affected is working memory. And working memory helps us hold information in our minds while we're using it. For example, remembering instructions to a complex task or keeping track of what comes next. Many learners with ADHD also find task initiation difficult. So this is the getting started. It can feel much harder than it looks from the outside, even when the learner understands what to do. Organization and time awareness can also be affected, and this can make it difficult to plan work, estimating how long a task is going to take to complete, remembering deadlines, or keeping track of materials. So these difficulties, they're not about effort or motivation. They're about how the brain is managing and processing the information it's receiving. Many school environments place heavy demands on skills that are difficult for learners with ADHD. So these include sitting still for long periods, listening without movement, following long or multi-step instructions, completing written work independently, and waiting and delaying responses. And for a learner with ADHD, managing all of this at once can be exhausting. So a child may understand the learning, have good ideas, and want to do well, but still struggle to stay regulated, still struggle to start tasks, or to complete work within the expected time. And over time, this can lead to stress, frustration, or avoidance. These responses are often misunderstood as poor behaviour, but very often they're a sign that the learning environment is placing too much demand on regulation and executive function. So if we can understand this, it helps shift the focus away from blaming or punishing the child and more towards supporting them to be able to access the learning. So it's really important to say this clearly. ADHD has nothing to do with intelligence. Learners with ADHD are not less capable, and they are not less able to learn. Many children and young people with ADHD are curious and imaginative, the creative thinkers, the strong problem solvers, and the highly verbal or expressive. They often make fast connections and think in flexible and original ways. The difficulty is that many school environments place a high value on skills like organization, sustained attention, and quiet compliance. When success is measured mainly through these skills, the strengths of learners with ADHD can be missed. So understanding ADHD helps us see the whole child, not just the challenges. So supporting learners with ADHD effectively is not about forcing them to behave differently. It's about reducing the load on executive function and increasing clarity, structure, and support. What helps most is clear, simple instructions, tasks broken down into manageable steps, visual supports alongside spoken information, predictable routines, opportunities for movement, and flexible ways to show learning. These adjustments are not about lowering expectations. They are about removing unnecessary barriers so learning becomes accessible. And when the environment is supportive, many learners with ADHD can focus, engage, and succeed. So understanding what actually helps us allows us to move away from constant correction and towards meaningful support. If you're a child or a young person watching this and school feels hard for you, I want you to know something important. You are not lazy. You are not too much. You are not failing. Your brain just works differently. And that difference can make some parts of school harder, especially things like sitting still, waiting, and focusing for long periods. But it does not take away from your strengths. With the right support and with adults who understand how you learn, things do get easier. You are capable of learning, growing, and succeeding in your own way. For parents, carers, and teachers, understanding ADHD can change the way we respond. So when we recognize that ADHD affects regulation, attention, and executive function, it becomes easier to respond with empathy rather than frustration. Behaviour, avoidance, or emotional reactions are often signs that a child is overwhelmed, not unwilling. And when we shift our thinking, we move away from constant correction and towards support. So instead of asking, why won't this child behave? We can ask, what does this child need from me in order to learn and regulate? And that shift reduces stress, it builds trust, and it changes a child's experience of school in meaningful ways. So ADHD affects learning because it affects how attention, regulation, and organization are managed. And when we understand that, we can move away from blame and towards support and focus on what really helps. If you'd like more information, resources, or support, you can visit my website. You'll find the link below this video. If this video was helpful, you can support the channel by liking the video or subscribing for more calm, clear content about neurodiversity and learning. Thank you for watching, and remember, difference does not mean deficit.